Right, I've decided to show you some of my little treasures. I've got a lot of stones and a lot of things that aren't stones. I think for the first video I'm going to show you the things that aren't stones. Bear in mind this is just the tip of the iceberg. I have hundreds of things in this house that have some special significance to me, but these are the ones that are to hand and that seem significant right now. Let's start with this. This was given to me by a friend. She bought it for me on a trip to Avebury, and I was teaching her about Druidry. It beautifully connects my Celtic side with my Druid side. I love it dearly. I loved her too, but the friendship went sour, trust was betrayed. So this represents for me something that I've lost, that was precious to me at the time, but probably not a good idea. But I still love it, and I will always treasure it as a reminder of the happier times in our relationship. Another cross. This one a real classic crucifix. This one I bought in a charity shop. It may even have the price on the bottom. No, it doesn't now. But it was probably about £1. It's very precious to me. I love the whole style of it. I was drawn to Catholicism for a very long time, and it was only quite recently, in the last 13 years, that I've actually worked out that the reason why I was drawn to all that ritual and stuff is that my path is Druidic. But I still have a great fondness for the Catholic Church, and I love crucifixes in any form. This one is lovely. Another Christian thing. A Madonna and Child. This is a medieval one, a copy of one. You can see she's crowned as the Queen of Heaven. But what I love about this is the face. There's something so human about the face. This is no perfect alabaster goddess. This is just a mother who looks slightly tired, and it just reminds me of my mother and of mothers in general. And it is both a symbol of my Christian faith and of my kinship with all womanhood, all womankind. Now, from that Madonna to this one. This is a bottle of holy water from Lourdes. I actually bought this from the shop where I last worked when it was closing down. I believe strongly that some places are holy. I believe all water is holy. I actually have a jug outside now to collect rainwater to use as holy water in rituals, in a little glass bottle that I bought recently. But this water is from Lourdes, and that often sits on top of my altar on the shelf above. More holy water. This is from Well, I believe. Yes, Well in Cornwall. There's a very happy story about this. I'd seen the well on the internet, and I was fascinated by it, and I thought we have to go and see that. We made a list of holy wells that we were going to try and see on that holiday, and that was one that I really wanted to see. We arrived in Alcia. We searched, we tried to follow the instructions we'd found on the internet. What the internet hadn't mentioned was that it was on private property and there was no public right of access. And we met a man and asked for directions, and he said he owned it, and that it wasn't a public place. And we apologised and said that we hadn't known that. And we were turning to go, and he said, well, it's just across the field, it's very wet, but if you want to go, feel free. So I went across and I was able to fill this bottle of water from it. And whenever I look at it, I think of the kindness of that man who didn't have to let these strange tourists go across his land, but did. And it was one of the most wonderful places I've ever been. It was a beautiful little well, surrounded by wildflowers, and quite perfect. This is one of my symbols of womanhood. This is a spindle. These were used for thousands of years, long before spinning wheels were used. And almost always by women. When you talk about the distaff line of a family, the distaff is the thing that you would hang this off, and it would generally spin round like that and pull the thread and twist it at the same time. So this represents women and women's work and the power of being a woman. People forget that being a woman gives them power, and I don't mean just power over men. To be a woman is to be blessed. We have everything in our favour, and that's why I will never be a feminist, because I don't believe we should give up our higher position in order to seek equality with men. But this is important to me as it represents both womanhood and female ancestry. Another thing that represents similar things is my Welsh spoon. This to me represents the Welsh side of my family, the long line of wise women I come from, and everything to do with providing food for others and mixing medicines and things, everything that is to do with the hearth. And when I feel homesick for Wales, where I've never actually lived but where my blood constantly calls me home, and where a large chunk of my family live, I'll wear this for a few days, and it reminds me that I'm never far from them. Now, I've always had this obsession with the mortar and pestle. It is to me everything that is good and wholesome. It reminds me of the herb wife side of my path. I am always mixing medicines and things. This particular one, this beautiful marble one, I now use for incense. As you can see, I've got some in there at the moment. That's my winter incense, which has blackberry and all sorts in it. It's quite a nice mixture with the base of sandalwood. I like to keep the base of sandalwood and with various things added in. But my mortar and pestle collection is quite large. I have a wooden one in the kitchen which I use for making herbal remedies and things. On the subject of incense, I got this at Newquay Zoo this year. It's one of 2 incense burners I bought on my holiday in Cornwall. The other was from a shop called the Lavender Pillow, and if you're ever in Mevagissey, go there because you will love it. It's full of wonderful pagan items, and I got a lovely little incense burner there. But this works brilliantly outdoors. It just floods an area with scented smoke, and I just love it. Everything about it is perfect. I think that's all. No it isn't. This is from Dewpath Well. Now this is in Cornwall, as is Alcea Well actually. When we got there it was just a muddy puddle, basically. There wasn't a lot of water, but I took a little bit, and as you can see there was a lot of sediment in it. Now I use this to shake up, and I watch it settle out and separate, and it has a lovely calming feel to it, and it is endlessly beautiful. Sometimes you can make it look like a wild desert, sometimes like mountains. It's just a lot of fun to play with. and the water is from a very precious place, a very old well. It's known about in Saxon times. Oops, I'm clumsy today for some reason. I think it's because I am so tired. But that is a lovely thing. See my treasure. I think we can now move on to the stones. Oh, just before. That is a thing I picked up in a charity shop. I collect wooden items of jewellery and such because they represent my relationship with wood and trees. My name is Wood, and I've always felt a kinship with trees of all kinds, so I often wear wooden jewellery. It's a way of showing my long friendship with them. So I will end this video there, but I have a tendency to make them go on too long, and then I'll be back to discuss some of my stones.